All right, welcome to Gambling Chronicles number 5. This is going to be part 2 of the series, The Complete Incomplete Book of Being Involved in a Profitable Betting Group. I gave you a rundown of topics that I was going to get into this week, but I don't even know if I'm going to get to those. I have so much material here to go through. So, start off the bat. First off, a lot of people that I need to get back to through Twitter, some DMs. It's just going to have to wait with the Super Bowl and all the Super Bowl props and a lot of other stuff going on. Targeting next week to get to some of that stuff. Wanted to give an update on Fliff and my payouts there. They owe me like $40K or $43K. They shipped another $5K, and it just looks like you're going to have to settle for $5K per month in withdrawals. So it looks like I'm not going to be seeing all this for 8 months. I'm not really worried about the money, but it just looks like that's it. They're not going to be shipping every 5 to 6 days unless something changes. Maybe they will do multiples in a month, but I just tried to do multiples in a month, and they canceled the second withdrawal I had, and I had to request a new one. So that's going okay. And with that, I still would say it's still a good spot to take a shot. If the lines are soft and you can make money, then look at my situation. That's an extra 43K or whatever that's about what I profited on there, something like that. But that's money you wouldn't have. Now, some people like, oh, well, what if they steal your money? Well, that's just part of the risks of gambling on websites. That's just what you have to deal with. And I will take shots on some sites that I think are soft and wait for the money. That's fine with me. I mean, other people may not want to do that, but I think it's a decent spot to attack. Next, for anyone that's going to be watching any of these podcasts or listening to any of these live streams, highly recommend, if somebody is a winning bettor or you think is a pro, the markets are going to move. But the markets are also probably going to move when the Joes make bets. So if you just have like betting personalities or whoever on there maybe didn't do enough work on their prop and they're just throwing something out there, then that might move markets too, and maybe you take the other side. So you got to take all that stuff into consideration when you're watching these streams. I will be appearing on Circles Off, I think Wednesday, early in the stream, and I think Captain Jack's super stream. I think I'm going to be on maybe in the middle of that stream Saturday night. So I'll have a couple prop picks ready to go, which actually leads me to this topic that's being discussed today, and I got into a lot last week with a lot of people, and that is pricing long shot props. And I'm going to give you my evolution of how I started, how I found they were profitable, and what I'm still betting in those right now. And I'm going to give you plenty of math examples on these as well that will just debunk any of these morons out there that think that if you bet something minus 500 or if you bet something minus 2,000 or minus 3,000 that it's just automatically a terrible bet. Now, I will actually start with my evolution on these bets first. So when I first started betting professionally, and I was getting into this is 2015, 2016, I came up with a system as to where I would bet a lot of props if I thought they were profitable based on what had happened in prior games. Essentially, I was just trying to make a better price than the bookies were making their prices. And you're basically debunking what they're putting out there for a line. I'm trying to find their mistakes, and that's what I was trying to do. And the lines were so soft back then, you could have just bet the board of unders if you had an unlimited bankroll, or you could pick and choose whatever. And you could just smash every under, and you would have won like 63% or something like that. Now, you couldn't get your money across everywhere because maybe you'd get cut off, or maybe you don't have the bankroll for that, for the amount you want to bet. So that's one thing. That's how I started. And I just came up with a system, and I'm telling you, it was so soft back then. I was getting trends that were, I could just look at a guy from the prior year in the NFL, and if he had played 16 games, maybe 14 games, he would be under the total they're setting week 1, 2, 3, whatever, the following season. I just look back at the prior season, and if nothing had really changed within the offensive structure, okay, well, I would have won this 14 times the year before and lost it twice. So I just found myself betting lots of unders. Now, this leads me to the first example of something where the first thing that I really found where I started to move up in betting these longer shot type things. So one thing that kept coming up was running back receptions. And there were plenty of examples of this where a running back's receptions would be listed at 0.5 receptions. And let's just say they would put the juice at minus 175, 0.5 receptions. So to bet the under, you'd have to lay 175. Now, that probably did scare a lot of people off because, like a lot of these people now that are saying, oh, you can't bet minus 500, you can't bet minus 600, you can't bet minus 800, you can't bet minus 1200. You know, it's just stupid, you know, but all these people are wrong, and I'm going to tell you why. So this specific example, you have a guy 0.5 receptions, under 175. And I was confident that this was going to win 90% of the time, okay? And they did win 80 to 90% of the time. But just for example's sake, something like that, if you win 90% of the time, okay? And we'll just use over 10 bets, okay? If you're winning something at 90%, you're laying 175. You're going to profit 725. You're going to get 900 in wins, and you're going to get 175 in losses, okay? So you're plus 725 now, over 10 bets. If let's just say you have a straight minus 120 player prop where you're winning 67%, you're going to win 670 in wins, and you're going to lose 3.3 times 1.2. So you're going to lose 396. 670 minus 396, you're going to win 274. So what would you rather bet? Would you rather bet something that is going to profit $725 on $100 bets on 10 bets? Or would you rather bet something that's going to profit $274 on 10 bets? And you can go to 100 bets or whatever you want. So I found these, and even if you went 8-2 on this 0.5 under reception, minus 175, you're still, you get 800 in wins, 350 in losses. You're getting 450 in profit, which outruns 274 in profit if you're hitting, 67%, which would probably make you one of the best, if not the best prop bettor in the world. You're outrunning that by just going 8-2. But these were going 9-1, 8-2. I just did this simple little math, and I said, well, I'm going to bet these too, okay? I don't need to just bet the other ones. I'm going to bet these. I don't care about the 175. And a guy who's actually my main partner now, I used to bet these, and I would give him plays back then, like telling him what I'm betting. He wasn't betting for me or anything. And he would always say, but yeah, these suck because all that has to happen is the guy has to get a reception and you lose. And it's like, yes, he does, but he doesn't get receptions. That's the thing. So if he doesn't get receptions, then who cares if he gets a reception and you lose, then you're losing one of those, scenarios or two scenarios there. So this is a bet where I just seen it come up multiple times. The math made sense. And then, I bet this hundreds, if not thousands of times over a few years, probably hundreds of times. And it was just profitable. Now, not every one would come up like that, but these shouldn't have been priced like this. Like something that these should have been priced way differently than this. But the thing is, you have guys that are in trading room in Costa Rica that are pricing stuff that they have a couple of hours to do. If they didn't do the work during the week, Saturday, Sunday morning, they're just, okay, here's the guy, he starts, we're going to put a reception line out there, here it is. They're not running the math on it. And honestly, who knows, maybe people were just betting, oh, we're going to bet over, like, whatever it is, like plus 140 or whatever. Because people bet overs, people are throwing them in parlays, so maybe my action didn't make them reconsider, and it didn't. Well, I got kicked off that book, and that was Bovada, but all the local pay-per-head books copied Bovada, so I would just be betting the same stuff on pay-per-heads back then. Now, let's get to the evolution of how this scales up till you get to minus 400, 500, whatever. So I made a post last week about Super Bowl prop betting tips, and I said a lot of these minus 600 to minus 1500 stuff have more value than a straight player prop that you're winning 63% of the time, laying 120. I just threw 63% of the time out there. And I had this guy reply that said, a lot of these minus 1600, whatever I just said, and he put a bunch of question marks. I didn't answer him. And then he came back saying, it's an insane statement to make. You meant to sound sharp, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Hitting 120s at 63% would literally make you the most successful bettor on earth. Well, you know what? I've probably hit 63% or better lifetime on my props, if not close to that. So thanks. I guess I'm the best bettor on earth now. But yeah, let's lay minus 600 on something that hit 85% of the time as well. Now, I never mentioned 85% here. He just threw that out there. Obviously, if you're winning 85% of the time, this is going to be a losing prop. You're going to lose, 9,000 laying 600, 15 times 600, 9,000, and you're going to win 85% of the time. But you don't bet every one. You have to do the fucking math. So I pulled up a couple of examples here, which I'm going to use, and I'm going to give you a couple more examples. So let's just say, let me see here. Let me get this example. So I pulled out the 2023 safety data, which I'd used to just quickly cap Super Bowl prop for last year. So minus 1,300 on no safety, okay? That's what the price was last year, whatever, for the Super Bowl that I was pricing for this example, whatever. So if you place 100 bets on a straight player prop at minus 120 and you win 63%, you win $18.60 in profit per 100 bets with $100 bets. So let's see here. That's good. That's great. You bet $100, you win 63%, you get $18.60 in profit. Now, no safety wins 97.42% of the time. So over 100 bets, you're going to win this 97 times. You're going to lose 2.5 times. So you're going to profit 63.88. That's almost quadruple the profit. So if you could bet a straight player prop, minus 120, win 63%, run it 100 times. You bet that 100 days in a row. I get no safety 100 days in a row. I'm going to almost quadruple your profit. It's going to be like 3.5 or whatever it is. So that bet is a better bet, bet for bet. In my opinion, it's a better bet. It doesn't matter how you shake it. The only way it's not a better bet is if you're overbetting your bankroll and something like that is going to break you. Now, for me, it's not gonna. So if I go and I lose it, I don't care. I know what the math is. Yeah, you're going to have a lower ROI, but I don't look at ROI at all. I just look at how much I'm going to profit per 100 bets or whatever. And then if my bankroll can afford it, then I'm just going to unload on those. And that's just one example. So he says you're just cherry picking this example. And I said, okay, let's go to 2024. So I pulled out the 2024 safety for this year, for this Super Bowl. You get 96.5 wins per 100 bets. You get 3.5 losses per 100 bets. If you used all the data in the NFL this year with all the safeties, 272 games. Shout out Broner, 272 games, buddy. That's why it's very important to know that. So you can run the math on this stuff. So 96-50 in wins, 45-50 in losses. So, you're profiting 51 units there. So if you can bet the same amount, bet for bet, it's not even close. You're going to bet the no safety. And if you're not, then I don't know what to tell you. There's just no help for you. So I started betting this stuff and pricing this stuff myself because when it got to the end of college football, which was my heavy thing, and I was doing some NFL props, but I was never pricing this stuff week to week. Then the Super Bowl came, and now all of a sudden, I have a good sized bankroll, and there's all these bets out there. And I said to myself, I go, well, I can just price the stuff the same way I was pricing these running back props back then, the 0.5 receptions. Or sometimes those running backs would be 1.5 receptions, and the guy would only have 2 receptions 8 or 9 times, or whatever, 80 or 90% of the time, and I could just bet based off of that. Again, those examples, you're not going to find them out there in this day and age, but that's what started me along these lines. So, hold on, I got lost there for a second. So that led me to the Super Bowl, and I started pricing this stuff, and I just used the same formula. How much am I winning per 100 bets versus what I would win on a player prop where I'm winning 63% of my player props at an average price of like 120. And I just started pricing all this stuff, and I just started finding egregious mistakes in the math. Now, the books might put this stuff out there because they know they're not going to try and price it exactly correct, because they're going to get overloaded on people betting the yeses, not the nos. So if they have people betting the yeses, they're still going to make a pretty good profit off this. Or they just don't do the math. They slap a number out there and they just let the market kind of go up and down, and then they get to their price, which they probably, maybe they get to pretty quick on Super Bowl week. So that's how I started pricing this stuff. And remember, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't have a college degree. The last year I really did any work in school was when I was maybe a sophomore in high school. My junior year, I got 0 credits, meaning I passed 0 classes, meaning 0 credits. So my senior year of high school, I almost failed out that year too, and it was because of absences. It wasn't because of the work. I was absent so many times my junior year, I got 0 credits. Senior year, I had to pass every class, which for me was difficult because, I was out smoking weed every night and, staying up, playing card games with my friends, gambling on sports, etc. But I'm a guy that doesn't have this tremendous math background. I'm interested in math, but I don't have some crazy math background. And I'm able to price this stuff. It seems relatively easy to me. And actually, I'll tell you a story now that we're onto this. So my senior year of high school, I needed one more absence, and I would have failed, and I would have had to stay in school for another year if that's what I chose to do. And I woke up very late because I probably stayed up late the night before. I had to get to school by a certain time. There was no Uber back then. There was town buses, but I had the bus schedule, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to make that bus, so I have to get to school now. So I called a cab. I had them pick me up at the end of my road, drove me up to the town center, told them I had to run in somewhere. I had them drop me off behind a market, sprinted through the market, ran down behind my school. I had to sneak into school because I didn't have time to check in or whatever. Snuck in the back door. You could never get away with that now with the way schools are locked down. Sprinted to my class. I got to the class as the bell was ringing. Teacher was waiting for me. Probably wanted to fail me out. Walked in, and I wound up passing and getting all the credits I needed and got out of high school. I just wanted to get out of high school. And yeah, I stiffed the cabbie. So anytime I take an Uber or a cab now, I jack up the tips to make up for that. So that's just part of variance. Sorry, cabbie, that if you're watching this and you're the one that got stiffed, I'm sorry, but I'm making it up to all the Uber drivers now. But anyhow, you don't need to have the most extensive math background to do this stuff. You just need to be able to add, subtract, and multiply, and just understand a little bit of probability of whether what you're putting together is good or not. And here's another, I mean, I've beaten this over the head of people, but now I take that and the 2020-2021 season, I'm seeing stuff that's getting priced out at DraftKings, like Devin Booker, no double-double, okay? He 71 games that year. He had 70 non-double doubles, one double-double. You lay 700. Now, all these people, oh, you don't lay 700, you can't lay 700. Well, what if you're going to go what if you're 70-1 and you lay 700? Well, I was able to get a lot of money down on Booker that year at whatever, minus 700. I would bet it up to like 1,300, 1,500. And they were taking pretty big bets in the kiosks on this stuff. Same thing with Jokic that year. 60 double-doubles, 12 non-double-doubles. The yes double-double was minus 200. So just do the math. I mean, you're winning 60 times, you're losing 12. 12 times 2, that's 24, so you're losing whatever. You're losing 24 units and you're winning 60 units. So you're right there. You're profiting 36 units. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do this stuff. Now, you can't just go out there and bet every minus 400, every minus 500, every minus 800. But the safety example and these examples, these are just examples. You could take this, but you have to use your brain and you have to go and you have to price everything. You just have to price everything and just come up with the right price. And when I started betting this stuff and just betting on the Super Bowl props, I had no idea this was like a big thing, and there were guys out in Vegas running around doing this. And then, when I discovered the Bet the Process podcast during the pandemic, I saw that Rufus does this stuff. And I was actually listening to, I think, prior year's episodes, and he was going over this stuff as I was betting the or I had already bet the Super Bowl that year, but it's during the pandemic. I listened to all those, and I'm like, wow, this fucking guy does this too. Like, there's other people out there that do this. You got to remember, I'm a guy up in New England. I'm not out in Vegas. And, that was the first person that I found that actually did this stuff. I'm like, well, there's other people out there like me doing this. Only, he'd been doing it since whatever, 2009 or whatever. And, that's just how it is. And just to show you that, like, Rufus is one of the most successful gamblers in the world, maybe of all time. I don't know. But I know, like, every year, him and his group, he says they get down a couple million on the Super Bowl. So, and they're betting a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about, like minus 500, minus 600, whatever. So there are guys out there in professional groups that do bet this stuff because some of this stuff does have value. Now, not every group's going to bet this stuff. I mean, Spanky's another one, but, maybe has the biggest betting group in America. But like he said many times, he's looking to bet everything that is minus, minus, he wants minus 110, and he just wants to beat the closing line one way or the other, or have the right side when the market closes, whether he beats the closing line or not. And he's not interested in going out there and betting this stuff because that is what he specializes in. And I think he used an example with the Mayweather-McGregor fight where he said that he was apprehensive about betting it, but people told him, like, look, dude, this should maybe be, 30-1 or something like that. And I think he got a good amount of money down on it. So these type of bets, they're not for everybody. And some people can't comprehend how that math actually works, but it does work. And if you understand the math and you do the work, then it's absolutely trivial. You're getting better and bigger edges. But for like going back to like someone like Spanky, why would he go out there when if he's commanding the college hoop and the college football market or whatever markets he's betting? It's a totally different thing to go out there and then all of a sudden, all right, yeah, we're going to price all these, derivatives, this and that, whatever. And, if you're betting with square books, maybe they don't, they see all this stuff come in. They're not going to probably want to book it like every week of the year. So that's another reason why, some of these groups won't be betting this stuff. But this week in particular, Super Bowl week, it's a little different because these books will pretty much they want to book these bets, because it'll help them balance all the yeses that all the squares are betting on. So that's my breakdown for that. Until you've actually done the work and done the math and understand how this shit works, just shut the fuck up. That's what I got to say about that, because you're making idiots of yourself posting like these have no value on Twitter. Anyhow, let's see what else we got here. I want to get to a couple of other things here. Let me see. Yeah, so what I've been up to, I might look a little beat up right now. Past week, Super Bowl props came out, and yeah, I've just been running around. I only have one book in this state, so I have to drive. It's not that far, but I have to drive there. Then I have to go through everything that I'm looking to bet, find it, bet it. I've been hitting some brick and mortars, and then it's just been so busy. Like last week, my kid gets sick one night, throws up a few times. Then he misses school Tuesday. Then we get a snowstorm. Then we get a snow delay. Then we get a snowstorm Friday night. I'm out late betting in that snowstorm. And then Saturday, he's up at 6 o'clock. And he just wants to go out and shovel and do all kinds of stuff in the snow. So it certainly does take a toll on you, especially a week like this. And I've gone through this before, and I'm going to go through it again. This is a young man's game. Not that you can't be profitable as you get older, but I'm just telling you, mentally, physically, everything slows down a little bit as you get older. And I know because I'm 47. So if you don't have kids, attack it hard, because once you get a wife or kids, everything changes. And then you got to learn how to balance everything. And, it's not easy to do. If I had to play poker in a casino like every day, I just don't know how it would work out. And that's something that I was doing for a little while. It just long term, I don't think it would work for me unless, you're playing these humongous stakes where you're making enough money where you can kind of set your schedule. But like actually grinding hard in a casino, I just don't, as you get older, I'm telling you, this stuff takes a toll on you. The amount of work, brain power, memory, like everything might go, you feel good, but everything starts to go a little bit as you get older. And I just know that because not only from my experience now, not that I'm losing it or anything, but there's a lot of poker players that have talked about that. When they get into their late 40s, start getting into their 50s, they just start making little mental errors that they maybe wouldn't have made when they were younger. So you young guys get after it. And don't waste your fucking money. Roll it up. Roll it up and just do the best you can, because when you get a family, shit, it fucking changes. Next, I got a question actually submitted to me from a personal friend. So this is what he said. And this is going to be pretty trivial for anyone that makes money and knows how to make money doing this, but maybe some people don't, or some people need to be reminded. So this was his question. He said, so I was wondering if I could submit a question for your show. I have a feeling my question a lot of people would want an answer. If you were just starting or have a small beginning bankroll, how would you start to build the bankroll so you can start putting more substantial money on player props where wins would really feel like a win? My point is, if you have someone, let's say, starting with 500, betting $10 on 20 different player props is really tough to build money up. And he's right in that aspect, but I'll give a breakdown in a second on this, because people need to hear this. This is why most people fail at betting and why most people develop gambling problems when they wager. So he says, last night I hit a 14 parlay that for $50 that paid $15.80. I know you're going to shit on the bet itself being a long shot parlay, but anyways, should I just try and bet it all or break it up in $25 increments on 18 player props? That's my problem. When I talked to so-and-so, who's one of my partners, he gave me at the beginning of the season 18 player props, and they went 11-7, which I know is a winning percentage, but at $25 a piece, even though I won, it didn't mean much to me money-wise. I mean, I get if I was throwing 5,000 on these, that would feel like a real hit, but at $25, it just doesn't. So always end up going back to betting long shot parlays because once in a while, I'll hit one for $3 or $4 grand. And that feels like a win to me. You know what I'm saying? All right. So there's a lot here to break down, but the bottom line is this. It's like, okay, I had a guy do the floor in my upstairs bathroom. He was just a regular handyman. He did like a decent job. And, you know, it came out pretty good. And then he was doing some painting in my basement. And he said, I could do your bathroom floor down here too. And I said, all right, let's do it. And he was a good price. I'm like, if he does what he did upstairs, then it's going to be fine. It's not going to be the best job. It's not going to be terrible, but he did this job and it came out fucking terrible. I mean, it was like the worst floor job you'd ever seen. So what did I do? I fired him, and he even felt bad because the job was so terrible. He gave me some money back. I think he gave me back all the material money that I paid. And what did I do? I hired somebody to come in here to not only do my floor. I was like, well, you're going to be in here. Just let's remodel the bathroom and remodel my basement. So I had somebody come in that knew what they were doing. And that's kind of what you're doing when you're betting these parlays. You know, once in a while, it's going to come out good. But, you know, if you're just a guy trying to do the floor in your bathroom and you have no fucking idea what you're doing, yeah, maybe, you know, you go on YouTube, comes out good once in a while, and then you go to another room and you're like, oh, I'm going to take these doors down. I'm going to put new doors in. And then all of a sudden it looks like fucking shit. And then you do 10 jobs, and then 9 times out of 10, it's going to come out looking like shit. It's the same thing with these parlays. And, you know, it's like, the same thing people say, like, why casinos are built. It's the same thing. These parlays are what builds these casinos. Now, if you're just looking to have a thrill and the thrill of winning, and you're fine with losing like the majority of time, and you're not looking to like make money and have it go up like this, then keep betting your parlays. But just know in the long run you're going to lose. And what I would advise is, if you're looking to make money, okay, like he says my buddy went 11-7. I don't know the exact math on that, but it's probably low 60s, maybe like 61%. And you just got to do that over and over again. It's like building a house, you know, like if you want to build a house right, it takes time. You got to come in, you got to lay the foundation. Everything's got to go up slowly, and then you have a house built. And that's how professionals build houses. If you go out and you try to build a house and you don't know how to build a house, then it's not going to pass inspection, and your bets aren't passing inspection because parlays, frankly, they suck. They're just fucking terrible. Unless that 11-7 that one of my partners gave you, unless you're maybe putting those into like some same game parlays, then maybe it's profitable. But for the most part, the first thing you need to do, you need to learn how to win. And how do you win? You either beat the closing line. You know, if the line opens at -6 and it closes at 7.5, and you get -6, that's a profitable bet. Okay, that's just very simple and elementary. The other thing you need to figure out how to do is, how do you win without beating the closing line? And not many people can do that. There's some people that can do that, and I'm just talking for straight games here. Then you could just bet late at post and just crush. And I know there are people out there that do that. You know, there's groups in college basketball. They wait till the last minute. The limits are high. They don't need to beat the closing line. But for the average run-of-the-mill, everyday bettor, if you're not beating the closing line, you're probably going to lose. And when it comes to prop bets, maybe you can get away with betting some of those late. But there's so many syndicates out there that are probably moving this stuff. They're moving the lines out of the way that you're probably not going to be able to bet those late. So either beat the closing line or come up with some type of formula or get the projections, get the bets in, and you just have to do this over and over and over again. It's like running a marathon. You can't just go out if you're training for a marathon and run a marathon in one day, because you're just going to break down. If you do it slow, eventually you're going to be running a marathon, and then this stuff will accrue. But the main thing here is you need patience. It takes a lot of patience. And I know it's hard to do, but it's a skill that you have to develop. And if you don't develop that skill, then you're just never going to fucking win. Like when I started playing poker, borrowed $100 from somebody, and I was a losing player at the time. I knew how to win, but I was a losing player because I was doing kind of what you were doing. I would just put my whole bankroll in at stakes that I couldn't beat. And then eventually I got a $100 loan. I was playing 25, 50 cent, 50 cent dollar, $2, 3, 6, 5, 10, 15, 30, 30, 60, 50, 100, 100, 200, 200, 400. You just have to climb as you're making profitable moves. So if you're, if you know how to, you have to learn to win first. If you don't know how to win, then I don't know what to tell you, but you're going to have to figure out a way to win. Or the other thing you can do is you could have other people give you the bets to put in your account that know how to win. Something like a betting group, there are people out there that know how to win, and they could advise you on what to put in these accounts, and then all you have to do is click the button. But if you want to do it on your own, it's a lot of work, and you need to figure out how are you going to beat the closing line. And it's not by guessing. I don't know anybody out there that can just guess and say, hey, we're betting the Patriots this week because we think they're going to win. That shit don't work either. These groups that are beating the closing line from when the line opens, they've been doing this for a long time, and they know the market's going to move for whatever reason, or if there's an injury late in the week in an NFL game or something, they're just getting ahead of the market. So I don't know, you got to figure out how to win, and that takes a lot of work. Not really going to get too much more into how to win, but there's many ways to do it. But if you can't do it, just remember, you're just guessing if you're not doing any type of math or any type of work like that. Let me see here. In a few more examples I had when it came to this was like, it's like blackjack. Now, who wins at blackjack? Well, to my knowledge, the only people that win at blackjack are people that are counting cards, people that are hole carding, meaning they can see the dealer's down card when it comes out, or people that are getting promos that overcome the house edge, which is whatever it is. It's a slight percentage. And if you just go in there and just play, and you think you're just going to win by increasing your bets, you're not going to. You're going to go broke. You might have some extreme highs, but you're going to have so many extreme lows as to where, it's just not good for you. And another thing I wanted to hit on while we're here, because this is kind of along the same thing here. I'm going to debunk this theory, and I'm going to debunk another theory. Not another theory, but a thought that people have. If you hit in blackjack, okay, and it's the wrong card or whatever, if somebody hits an 18 versus, the dealer's 20 and they bust, and then they take away the dealer's bust card or whatever. There's people out there that believe that change, because you hit on the wrong card, that whatever, it doesn't change the math. The bottom line is the dealer has to draw a card, and we could put 1,000 cards out. It's just what percentage of the time are they going to bust? So whatever, you can't change math. So anyone out there that yells at people when they hit on the wrong cards, maybe it's frustrating because in that moment they took away the dealer's bust card, but it doesn't change anything. Same thing with another question I get asked a lot is about running it twice in poker. Does it change the odds? No, it doesn't change the odds at all. It's the same. You run it 2 times. You're going to run 2 boards, and it doesn't. Let's cover both boards. Whatever your odds are to win one board are the same odds to win another board. The math doesn't change. The math is the math, and you can't change it. And it's the same thing with those prop examples I gave earlier with the long shots. You cannot change math. So that's it. And it's the same thing with like reverse line movement. That's another bullshit thing. Like I know people personally that think that like, oh, there's 80% of the money here and this and the line move. That fucking doesn't matter, okay? You either beat the closing line or you're on the right side because you have a team of quants behind you that tell you this is the right side, we're going to bet this. And they just bet it post, get $1 zillion down, and there you go. And here's another one. Somebody messaged me. They asked me what I liked last week. This is a guy I've known for about 30 years. And I didn't say anything back to him, but he told me his play, he was buying the Skins versus the Eagles to 7.5 because traditionally, like, conference title games are close. I mean, and I'm not going to shit on this because the Skins lost. It's just, it doesn't matter how close those conference games were. I think more relevant would be how many times are you going to win when you buy, like, overall, if you were going to buy a 6 to whatever he bought, I don't remember. I think he bought it from like 6.5 to 7.5. He was laying like 150. I don't think that's a profitable bet. If you laid that 1,000,000 times, forget about the conference title game. Any game that you moved from 6 to 7.5 and paid that type of juice, it's just not going to win. And if something like that did win, then everybody would be a millionaire because they would just do the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's a bad bet. Buying points, oftentimes, if you're just buying it to buy it and you're actually trying to win and be profitable in this game, I don't know many pro groups that are buying points that often. They're winning the ways that I described. Let me see. What else do we got here? What are we up to? 42 minutes. Wow, I got a slew of topics and I haven't even gotten to some of the stuff. Profitable, let me see here. Models. This is a funny story. This is a funny story with people that know Porter would know who I'm talking about. Porter, shout out to you. Great bettor. Winning bettor, for sure. One of the best I've ever worked with. But this is a funny story with Porter. So, this was 3 or 4 years ago, after he was on like Circles Off, I reached out to him. We got into a partnership. I had a bunch of accounts and I had him betting on the accounts. I was betting on the accounts as well. And so we were sharing multiple of my accounts, and he was betting like NFL props and college player props. And I was betting a ton of college player props. And, all of a sudden, there was one account so on one account, he had 3 plays, let's just say on the over on these 3 guys. And then on another account we were sharing, I had 3 plays on the under on the same 3 guys. And I think it was like right after the games kicked off, it was noon. I was really cooked and I'm like, I got to go for a walk, get some sun, just blow some steam before I go in and get back to work. I was walking down this trail right near my house, and I get a message from him, and he's like, hey, bro. He's like, nice scraper, or something like that. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you faded, or your scraper, I think, picked up the wrong bets. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I bet the opposite side on these other accounts, and rightfully so. He probably thought like I had a scraper going, because people do this. They hook something up to an account, scrape the bets, and he definitely wasn't overreacting. And I didn't overreact back to him because I knew I did nothing wrong. But this is a lesson also, like, to be patient with partners on stuff like this. And like he was kind of ribbing me a little, but I then pulled out. I sent him screenshots of the bets that I actually made at the casino like that morning or the night before, like a couple thousand on each guy. And yeah, it's just a lesson to be profitable. But it was kind of funny because I've been talking to Porter a little bit lately, and I remembered that story. It just popped into my head out of nowhere. And that goes to show you that, you know, you can have two guys with completely different philosophies and models on how they're handicapping something, and both can be right in a sense. Like, there's always a question that comes up, and I don't know the true answer, but you know, if his model's hitting 65%, my model's hitting 65%, we're going to maybe differentiate on some plays. So I don't know, maybe either betting the over or the under, maybe it was a neutral play. I have no idea, but it was a funny story that I wanted to put out there. But to stay patient with partners is very important in any scenario like that, because one thing could lead to another. Someone could explode, then there's bad blood. But it was all good between us, and we're still buddies. Let me see here. Another question people keep asking me is about like scaling higher. Why not scale higher? Blah 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable where I am now. But the biggest thing with scaling for me right now is there's a lot of stress when you're trying to go from here to here, you know, and I'm pretty comfortable where I am right now, but to go to like another level, I need more automation. Frankly, I don't have enough automation, and it's just not worth the stress. And another thing is like health, like versus scaling. I think a priority for me is to get a lot more healthy before I even attempt to do that. Because if you're not alive, then what the fuck does scaling really matter? So I'm going to really try and take this off season and really put the health thing together. I've been doing a pretty decent job at it, but not good enough. So yeah, I need more automation. And actually, like, the off season's probably the best time to work on, you know, bringing in automation and all that stuff, because it's kind of the slow time of year. Shout out Armenian Better. He actually advised me on that. Told me, you know, if you want more automation, do it in the slow times, because there's going to be a lot of mistakes with the automation, and that's the best time to do it, not in the middle of your busiest time of the year, which makes a lot of sense. Other thing I wanted to talk about was, you know, and this is something that Bill Perkins talked about, the great gas trader from Houston, Texas. Bill Perkins, big poker player, talked about on a lot of podcasts, is if you need help with something, or, you know, you need to talk to somebody big time or whatever, it doesn't hurt to shoot your shot. So send someone an email, send someone a Twitter DM. If you think somebody has the answer to a question, or you need to apply for a job or whatever, if you don't fucking try, then you're never going to know if maybe that would work. I've done it before. I've cold DM'd so many people. Some people have been able to help me. Some people I've become partners with. So don't be afraid to reach out to people if you need help. Another thing I've been doing a lot is using AI to help me bet, especially with these Super Bowl props. Instead of manually just looking up stuff up by hand, I just type in, you know, how many pick sixes were there this year? Boom, spits it right out. And I'll just run the math, and there we go. And I'm not clicking through all these web pages, and it saves a lot of time. So I've been using AI to help me do some research on some of this stuff. Yeah, with running to the casino and stuff, which I normally only do this time of year. One thing I want to talk about is is security. Like, when you go into a casino to bet, like, you never know who's watching you. I always advise, like, any of my partners, or, you know, anyone in general, if you're in a casino and you're betting and some sketchy dude thinks you have a lot of money or whatever, they might follow you out. Maybe they'll tail you home. Always watch out for that stuff. Anytime you leave the casino, if you're at risk of, I mean, everybody's always at risk of getting robbed, even if it's like even if you don't have a lot of money, because someone might think you have a lot of money. always walk in like a square around the casino and just see if the same person's behind you, then you know that you're getting followed. So like security is very important to like know stuff like that. I know I think it's Jonathan Duhamel, he won the World Series of Poker. Like the inside job got robbed at his house. A buddy of mine, Pat, who played mid to high stakes, no limit out in Vegas for a long time, he got robbed. I don't even know if he ever found out who did it. But like, it was probably a targeted robbery. You just never know. So always try and be as secure as you can. Make sure nobody's following you. And like, I would always recommend to get cameras and get a security system at your house if you're a gambler of any size, or even anybody. It's cheap enough now. So like, as funny as it is, like I think when I first started like writing stuff, or maybe it was around the time that I went on Circles Off, you put yourself out there. Like I installed the best security system I could find in my house, just because I don't keep any money at my house at all. No money. Like I might have a few $100 on me, but somebody might think that you have money on you because you're a gambler, or whatever reason, or maybe some guy from the casino followed you home and then he thinks you have a lot of money. Don't keep money at your house. Use like maybe get a box at the casino or a safe deposit box, because it's just not worth it. And get those security systems up, get some cameras, because you just never know when someone crazy thinks that they're gonna score a gold mine coming to rob you. What else here? Yeah, another thing. Let me see here. Yeah, never meet people at like your office, like at my office. Yeah, I go there and I bet, but I don't keep any money there, and I don't meet anybody there because it would just be extremely stupid to do. So don't settle at your house. Don't settle at public places if somebody has to meet you. And then the first thing you should do is go to the bank. Even if you have a large amount of cash and you're claiming the money, then just drop it on the counter. And you should be claiming the money if you're a gambler. So that's something I talked to somebody at Bet Bash last year about. I think it was Scott, Vegas Horse Pools, was telling me he went to this conference where they said, if you have all your betting tickets, you can just go in and go to the counter. And I'm like, I don't even do that. Betting's legal in this state. So, and there's casinos here. I just go in, and if I have whatever, 40, 50,000, I drop it on the counter. They ask me what I do for a living. I tell them. They send a form off. I pay my taxes every year. So like, whatever. It's as clear as day to do that. And if you do bury money in a safe, just remember it's losing interest every year. Like it's just not worth it. You're better off paying your taxes and in investing it, if you can have certain investments for retirement stuff for what you do for work, or just you just pay tax on, invest in whatever, and and that'll outrun the inflation of money sitting in a deposit box for forever. One of my friends sent me a picture once, and he had all this cash in a box, and I said to him, what the hell are you doing? I said, invest it. Like it's just gonna rot in there. Who cares if you have $60 million in a safe? It wasn't that much, but he had probably a couple 100,000, 500,000. I don't know. There was a stat, whatever you can fit into a box. And he listened to me and deposited it, and he's probably investing now. So let me see here. Yeah, another thing that I came up with last week that I kind of jotted down for this is like, when you are gambling on apps, you're often dealing with the traders. And, there is some kind of unspoken rule with traders where if they start declining your bets, don't keep trying to push it through. Now, with Super Bowl props, they'll usually let you bet a good amount on these Super Bowl props. But if they start declining, you don't want to piss them off and just keep rebetting the stuff. So there's like, if they decline something from you 2 or 3 times in a row, and maybe you already bet it and you're just trying to get more on it, just let it go. Maybe try and do it the next day. You don't want to piss those guys off, because you need them more than they need you, and at the end of the day, they control your fate. I got another funny trading story happened a couple of years ago, and this this happens on a specific app where if they know you're sharp, you try to bet, let's just say under 99.5 rushing yards. They'll move the line to like 93.5 and offer you like minus 130 or something like that. And I noticed this guy, whoever was on the other end of the trading, he kept offering me shitty prices. And so what I did was I just started betting the wrong way. And then he would just make my other price better. And then I would just decline it, go in, make the bet on the side I wanted, and it would snap accept it for some reason. There's maybe some glitch. It didn't go back to trading. I don't know. It would just, or he would accept it. I don't know if he would accept. I can't remember. But I would bet the wrong way. It would change the odds, and you'd just get a better price. And then it would work like that for a while, and then it just wouldn't, and then eventually he would just stop doing it. And then I would just, whatever, I'd close the session, and that was it. But you can try and manipulate stuff if they start fucking with you like that on some apps, not all apps. Somebody asked me a question too. Why not be a bookie? It's kind of like, that would be the most miserable job in the world. Or why not be an agent? Somebody asked me that. Like, the most miserable job in the world. This guy said to me, he's like, you could get like 200 clients easy or whatever and make a couple $100,000 a year. Like, no, not interested. No interest in dealing with people trying to suck money out of people that are going to lose. Most of them can't pay. The aggravation that goes in with that, not to mention it's illegal. And, like it just wouldn't be for me. If it'd be like asking a Wall Street trader, quit your Wall Street job. We're going to heist some trucks instead. I mean, no, I like the job that I have where it's on the up and up. I pay taxes. I can make investments, and I don't have to live a life in fear. That's the most important thing. Pay your taxes, and you don't have to live a life in fear. You can go to bed every night and get a good night's sleep, and you don't have money rotting in a safe, losing to inflation every year. That's another thing about being a bookie. Some of these bookies that you come across, you get this money that you can see has been sitting in a wall for a long time, gaining no interest on it. It's just, would never ever want to be an illegal bookie. I don't know. If that's what you like to do, then you do it. Not something I would ever want to do. Let me see here. Let me see. All right. So another thing I want to talk about is like when you actually do have money, the money that you make gambling is your tool. It's your tool to work. So save it, because there will be rainy days. And that's kind of going back to the question the guy had at the beginning here. Money is your tool. Okay, so you need your tool to work. If you don't have your tools, then and you're a house builder, you can't build a house. So, and when you're a house builder and there's slow times and you're not building any houses, you need money that you had made prior to make sure that your family can eat. So nothing lasts forever. And there's going to be slow periods and down periods. Reason why I came up with this was yesterday, guy has a couple betting accounts that he shared with me, who I gave to somebody else, PPH accounts. And he fired me yesterday. He said, it's too much losing for me, man. He's like, I just can't take it right now. We're going to pause for a little while. And I was like, fine, that's your prerogative. Do whatever you want to do. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're up money. And he's like, no, man, we're definitely down since we started. I was like, all right, whatever, that's fine. And I went back and went through the accounting, and like since the end of August, we were up, I don't know if we bet maybe like 45 units we're up since the end of August. I mean, it's been a rough few weeks with some of the stuff we've been betting, but again, we're up 45 units. So I looked at that, and then I checked the rest of the account, and we're probably up close to 90 units in the last 9 months. So that's just another example that you need to save your money. So when situations like this happen, when you're going through, downturns or whatever, that you shouldn't be just worrying about the prior 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. It's a longevity thing. It's long term. It's going to win. Like, if you're associating yourself with winners, they're probably going to win unless they lost their edge. And I'm pretty confident the people that I associate with have an edge. I mean, maybe they lose it here and there, but they always find a way to get the job done. And, reestablish their edge if they slightly lose it. Somebody else told me a story yesterday when I mentioned this to them. They said they had this guy where they won like 17 weeks in a row, like good money on an account. And this guy was sending my buddy pictures of him like doing blow off a hooker's ass or something like that, like multiple weeks in a row. And or off stripper's ass. I don't know if it was a hooker or a stripper or whatever. And then like they lost 1 week, and the guy was like, "Damn, man, hopefully we have a better week next week." He's like, "Can you spot me the money this week?" And my buddy's like, "What the fuck, man? We won, 17 weeks in a row here or whatever." So, if you're gonna do blow off hookers' asses, you might want to keep that to a minimum, because you're eventually going to lose, and you're going to have to pay. So, let me see here. Yeah, that goes to another thing, is like being critical with partners and questioning how or what they're doing right now. Like, when you go through a rough stretch, it's okay to question things, but it's another thing to like call people out. And I've had thoughts before going through downswings with some partners, like, "What the fuck, man? Like, my shit's winning, like, whatever, low 60s. Like, these guys are fucking, can't even win. They can't even get this to a coin flip, whatever." I've never gone after a partner and said anything like that, but I've had some people, like, kind of like the example I just said. It's like, you need to be aware. If you're dealing with sharp bettors, then they're sharp, and they're going to probably put sharp stuff into your accounts in the long term. And you just got to ride it out and know that you're not going to win every week. I mean, some guys are good enough where they're going to win, most of the weeks, but other guys, maybe they have an edge a different way, and the edge isn't as big, and you're just going to go through rougher stretches, and you just got to ride it out. Which gets me to this here. Couple more quick things, and then we'll be done here. We're at an hour, so I'm going to wrap it up. I got to go out there and go hit those Super Bowl props. Tunes was talking about getting away from paperhead bookies, which is, it is kind of going away in some senses, because you got to think, with the amount of sharp bettors out there that are betting through these per heads now, a lot of them, it's rare to come across somebody that hasn't seen sharp action before, and then people get stiffed. So, I mean, it just seems that's people are betting on legals more now, or just using offshores that will pay you out. So, that's just it's the nature of the beast. Per heads aren't going to go away, but I think every day that goes by, you're more likely to see more stiffs, because people are betting on these legal apps, and these per heads just aren't getting the business anymore. If DraftKings is giving the fish deposit bonuses, etc., then some of these bookies are losing business there, and then the winning bettors are going to stick out more like a sore thumb. So, which is another thing, which a guy who gave me an account his bookie started blaming him for using a bot. And one thing you need to do when a book, like a pay-per-head local bookie, whether you're using a bot or not, because I've been accused of using a bot when I'm not using a bot before, and they just say it, or the site will tell them, oh, this guy's using a bot, this is really sharp stuff, you don't want to book this. Then they always say this, and it's so nauseating. They say, you were cheating, blah, blah, blah. But never act weak in any scenario. And before you respond to a bookie, you should always talk to the guy who you gave the account to if you're handing accounts off to somebody. Because once you act weak with one of these guys, they're just going to fucking steal the money from you. And I think that's probably what's going to happen here. My buddy said to the guy, he said, it was midweek last week, and he just said, the guy accused him of cheating, and he's like, well, am I going to get paid? I would just never, ever ask if you're going to get paid that early in the week. Just deny, move along, talk to the guy you gave the account to, have them give you word for word what to say to these guys, and you'll have a better chance of getting to the finish line and getting paid. And then when Monday rolls around, either way, that's when you just give them your figure and just like you're expecting to get paid. Once you show weakness, these guys will fucking try and step on you. And then you're going to have to use other tactics, which I'll get into in another episode, on how you're actually going to try and get that money back. But just never act weak at all. And something as little as that can make you look really weak. Am I getting paid? And I'm not mad at the guy or anything at all for this. Great kid. But once you say that, then they're just going to start pulling the ammo out. You're a fucking cheater, this, that, blah, blah, blah. You just got to deny. Just tell them, hey, you set the menu and I just put in the bets. That's all. You want me to try and lose? That's what you should always tell them. I'm not trying to lose. So that's pretty much it for this episode. Try and crank out another one next week where we get into more stuff here. So that's it. Good luck on the Super Bowl, everybody.